Hey, what's up guys? My name is Michael Westbrook. As always, thank you for checking out this video. This is not one that I had planned on making, but it is a project I have to do, so I figured why not? I'll take you guys along for the ride. Today I'm putting together an acoustic pedal board for an artist who is on tour. It's pretty straightforward, pretty small board, but it does have some things that you don't really see all that often and that I thought you guys might find interesting. All right, let's get into it. All right, so I've got the board down here in my basement on my workbench. It's kind of a wreck, but it is what it is. I want to talk through what's going on here. Again, it's a little different than most acoustic pedal boards. There's some things going on that maybe some of you guys are not familiar with. Essentially, this is going to be used for two separate acoustics. We'll just call them acoustic 1 and 2, and both of those acoustics are going to be run wirelessly. So what we need is a way to get from the XLR, from the wireless receiver unit, into a tuner, through the delay, and then back to, audio world. This is kind of a cool thing for me because right here we have the WRLS from Pinstripe Pedals. This is actually something that I kind of had the idea for and helped Charlie from Pinstripe develop and tweak. I had the idea, I told Charlie, hey, I see a lot of people on these tours kind of struggle with integrating a pedal board into a wireless setup, a wireless acoustic setup that you see a lot on the road. Not knowing how to get from that line level XLR send into a tuner without it being too much level and then integrating it back in. And doing that in a way that's efficient and you don't have to use multiple boxes and everything. I said, hey, you should just put this all in one box. Charlie built a prototype. I had it out on the road and tested it for several months. We made a tweak or two, and then now it's in production. So it's cool for me to get a pedal board that is, using a couple of these things that I kind of helped come up with, help develop. So cool thing for me. The first thing I'm going to do is measure everything out and use painter's tape to mark where the pedals go and where everything goes. Because this board is super symmetrical, everything that's on the right side is also on the left side. I just want to make sure that it's all even and that it looks really neat. For whatever reason, I've ended up doing 2 pedal board videos in a row. Again, I wasn't planning on making this one. It's just kind of the way it worked out. So I'm going to give you guys kind of just the rundown of how I'm doing it and some tips, some things that I find helpful. But I'm not a professional pedal board builder, like the guys at XTS or Brian O'Million, Vertex. Those guys are the pros, and most of the stuff that I've learned from them or just kind of picked up along the way. As I'm measuring these pedals out, I am going to use these jacks. I'm going to be using the SP500s, the square plugs on this board. I'm going to put those in certain places just to check my spacing, kind of make sure that everything's going to line up. I can foresee an issue on the back of this DD20 and this power supply. All of this, including the board, are what was given to me to make work. So it's not like that I said they should use this board. I did recommend this power supply just because of what they needed and what they were looking for. But we're going to make it work how it is, the best that we can. But I'm going to go ahead and put these in so I can make sure that the spacing, make sure that there's room. I'll probably have to plug some power jacks into this too to make sure our spacing works out. So one thing that I'm already running into is that with True Tone, all of their cables they give you are straight on one side and angled on the other, and I'm going to need one that is angled on both sides. So I can try to get this as symmetrical as possible, kind of center up this power supply. So fortunately, I think I do have some DC jacks that I can solder in there and make that right angle. I had initially not planned on doing that. I like using the pre-made ones if I can, but I can solder that up and give us a little more space there. All right, I've got some tape down, just kind of marking the place of everything. I measured it all out, made sure it was equal on both sides and all of that. Now I'm going to start making the 1/4" cables. Again, I'm using the SP500s from Square Plug, and then I'm using Mogami 2319. So my best tip for soldering cables and just soldering in general, honestly, is like the prep work, the preparation. If you can get things prepped so that they're really clean and are ready to go you know, like you're not having to hold stuff in place. Like it can kind of just sit there, or if you are having to hold it in, it's not like wanting to jump out. It's just kind of laying there. That makes it so much easier. I'm not going to get into the depths of, you know, soldering and how to do everything best, and there's plenty of other videos about that. But my number one tip is just the prep. It is having good solder joints, to me at least, is all about the prep work. All right, so I got all of the 1/4-inch cables made. It's still a bit of a wreck right now. I've got to, you know, I'll have to get everything dual locked down, attach the pedals to the board, put in cables, also cable management stuff for the 1/4-inch cables. But now I'm figuring out the DC cables, or the power cables to the pedals. I don't love doing this, but I am going to have to make custom DC cables. Just because and I might have mentioned this before, but the power cables on one side are straight, and there's just not room on this board. Everything's so compact, so pushed together, that they need to be right angle plugs on both sides of the cable. This way I can also make them the right length and cut them down so there's not excess cable. I will say in the past I have used the solderable DC jacks, and I haven't loved them, and that's one reason why I've never loved making them, is because the little caps fall off. You have to put a zip tie on them to keep them on there. They're just not great. The new ones that I got, it's been a while since I bought them. I just kind of had them down here that I'm going to use for this project. They are a lot better as far as the caps staying on the actual jack part. I still may put a zip tie on them just to keep them on there, or shrink wrap or something, but I am pleased to see that there are better DC jacks available now. I'll try to link those in the description if I can find where they came from. All right, so I got all the cables made, including the DC jacks. If you can see in there, I did end up putting zip ties on there just to be extra sure they stayed on there, since this thing is going to be on the road. In hindsight, I might have gone with the smaller Mogami cable. I can't remember the number right off the top of my head, but you know, just this board is so tight, and getting everything kind of you know, routed in there. It's a little, this cable is not quite as flexible as the smaller stuff, but I'm going to do some cable management stuff here next, get these things dual locked down, and all of that should clean it up some. All right, so I'm getting the dual lock on here. I'm doing the dual lock with the 250 on the pedal side, and then the 400, it's like 400 hooks per square inch on the pedalboard side. Now, the one nice thing about dual lock that I'm not sure that I mentioned in my previous video is that it actually raises the pedals up just a touch. And this can be great, like on this pedal right here. It's got these screws in it. This is one of the Boss tuners, and it I took the rubber piece off. Sometimes you can get away with flipping them over, but the rubber was too tall and it was hitting some stuff inside the pedal, so I just had to take the rubber piece off. But the dual lock, you know, either way, I think if I had flipped it over, the screws would have been in the way, but the dual lock kind of raises the pedal up just a touch, and it makes it so that you have clearance. The other great thing about that is that really small cables, like if I had used the smaller Mogami cable, or what I'm going to do is these power cables. These are actually, I got to double check it because these do seem a little thicker, but a lot of times you can run power cables underneath pedals and underneath things. It kind of is a way to keep things clean without necessarily having to use, you know, like these guys and zip ties and all that. I don't love using these, I don't even know what you call them, but those and zip ties, just because it makes it a little more difficult if you do have to troubleshoot something on the road, or you want to change something out. It makes it a lot more difficult. You kind of have to undo all that stuff and then redo it to keep it neat. Any way that I can get around using that and just use the pedals themselves or the positioning to kind of keep the pedals or the cabling neat, I like to do that. So here's what I'm talking about with the dual lock and the power cables. I do want to try to run the power cables under these WRLS, so they come out at the top of the tuners. Here's like a scrap piece of power cable, but I'm basically going to run it like this. So instead of running that dual lock all the way across right here, I just did 2 tabs like that, and then that will allow me to have it come in here and then come out right here, which will be at the top of the tuner. Another thing that I'm thinking about with this is just when I'm putting things down, I try to make sure that once I dual lock something down, I don't have to undo the dual lock, because this works a lot better if you give it a lot of time to kind of set and get the adhesive, let it set for a little while before you try pulling it off. I don't want to pull it off unless I just absolutely have to. So anything that needs to be plugged in, you know, these are really close, so I'm going to have to plug all these in, make sure that they're right before I secure, you know, like maybe I'll do the power supply last, and make sure everything's in before I lock this down with dual lock. All right, so I got this thing all wrapped up. Everything's buttoned up. I've tested it. It's working great. I'm really excited about how this came out. I think it's going to be really reliable, really solid out on the road. I posted a picture of this board on my Instagram stories just a little while ago, and I've had a ton of comments on the Giga Delay on the DD20. You know, the way I see it is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I played a DD20 for years and loved it. They're super reliable and they sound great. And they have some kind of unique features that that some people really like. I know I really liked them. I just kind of got away from it trying other things, but it's definitely making me have second thoughts about picking another one up. Again, I know this is kind of a unique board, especially a unique acoustic board. So if you have any questions about what's going on here, or you know, any of the functionality, definitely leave a comment below. Also check out the description. I'm going to be putting links to some of the things that I used in this video, and other videos that might explain some of these things as well. Also in that description, you're going to find a link to my website. There you can find impulse responses and presets and, you know, all kinds of stuff. That is a great way to support the channel. If you want another way to support the channel that's completely free, just hit that subscribe button, like this video, watch my other videos. You know how YouTube works. Anyways, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you out there.